Hi, I'm Miranda, and this is Nick.
Wait.
And welcome to episode 26 of the Ranting podcast. And this is our Rants on the Rocks episode, where we review different types of media. But we've been on a really good documentary kick as of late. And we're not stopping because this week we are discussing the Netflix documentary, The Truth About Jussie Smollett. And I want to give a special shout out to my brother Josue for suggesting this one. Shout out.
What does he call
Juicy?
Juicy? Okay. Just want to point that out. Nerd.
That's why when we were talking about it, he
Juicy.
kept calling him Jussie Smollett, and it was making me laugh so hard.
Juicy.
I
That's
kept
so funny.
thinking about it.
So when I just played this earlier, when I saw his name, that's the first thing I thought of. Like, fucking Juicy. God damn it, Hosey.
He's so funny. But anyway, so this documentary covers the 2019 incident where Jussie
There you
Smollett was attacked in Chicago. This is serious. Hold
okay.
on.
Oh, sorry. Reset.
This documentary
And
covers
scene.
the 2019 incident where Jussie Smollett was attacked in Chicago in an alleged hate crime. So we're just going to dive right into
Let's do it.
All right. So in the intro of it, like I had said, it's revolved around actor and a musician as well, Jussie Smollett. I think he's most notably known for Empire.
Empire, yeah.
Yeah. He had reported that he had been attacked by two white men who yelled racist and homophobic slurs at him. And so the documentary opens up with a montage of the coverage, beginning with him walking on the street, to him returning with a noose around his neck, and then, the extra video montages of people reporting it was false and and his statement. And then we dive right in. Starting with interviews, specifically with Melissa Staples, who's the former chief of detectives of the Chicago Police Department. What?
Nothing.
Oh, you look like you wanted to say something.
No,
Okay.
go ahead.
So right off the bat, Melissa states that this is the first and last time that she will ever be speaking about this case publicly. So set the scene. It's Chicago, January 29th, 2019. And at approximately 2:43 a.m., there's a dispatch call. And someone who works for Jussie had called 911 saying that he works for an artist that was jumped and he wants to make a report. So the police report to a condo in Streeterville, which is known as a high-end area near the lake and, is referred to as yuppie.
Yeah.
This man was Frank Gatson, who is Jussie's creative director, the man who made the call. So when the police arrive, they meet Frank Gaston down in the lobby. He takes them upstairs. And when they walk into the apartment, Jussie is standing there with the noose around his neck still. And that's what it looks like.
Yeah,
And he
right.
said that he had wanted them to see it, but he said that he had previously taken it off. What?
No. Just listening. This is ridiculous. Anyways, keep going.
So introducing, Jussie Smollett comes in and starts doing his interview for the documentary, and he maintains that his story has never changed. He said that they had flown in late that night and Frank had picked him up, and that there wasn't any food in the condo. So he had walked to Walgreens thinking it was 24 hours, but it was closed. So then he ended up going to Subway, which was 24 hours. And he said that after he had gotten his sandwich and everything, he had texted his manager asking him to call him ASAP, which he did. And while he was on the phone speaking with his manager, he heard someone yell Empire, but he just kept walking. But then the person said, "Aren't you that Empire F slur and slur?" So obviously Jussie turns around and says, "What did you just say to me?" And one guy replies, "This is MAGA country." And then the guys run up on Jussie, and he says that one guy punched him in the face, so he punched him back. And he said that they were wearing balaclavas. I always want to say baklavas. It's a dessert. They were wearing balaclavas. And he could only see the skin around their eyes. And he said that they were obviously pale skinned, white. And he said that the guys had gotten him down on the ground and they were kicking him, and then they just like took off. And he says that's when he got up, grabbed his bag of food, and then he took off back home. And then that's when he realized that there was a noose hanging around his neck. So this is where former superintendent of the Chicago Police Department, Eddie Johnson, is introduced. And he says that he got the call at about 3 a.m. about this alleged hate crime. He says that he was rightfully immediately concerned about the already high racial tensions in the city. And he was concerned about like how all of this was going to be playing out. So now we're on to the next day, still in Chicago, January 30th, 2019. And this is the day of a polar vortex. And it's even too cold for like the news reporters to go outside and do their reports and everything like that. And
it can get down to like negative 30
yeah,
degrees.
well,
It's cold.
yeah, right off the lake and everything too. It gets cold as hell in Chicago. But Jussie had said that he was at his home, the next day with the TV on in the background, and he heard the breaking news announcement about his attack. And his former personal assistant, April, talked about how the story had just gotten out very quickly and it was suddenly everywhere. And people were reaching out to him, trying to get in touch with him. His friends were making posts of support online for him and everything. And even Lee Daniels, the creator of Empire, had made a video in response to Jussie's attack. So, it became clear very quickly that the reason why it was getting so big was because of the noose that had been around his neck. So, introducing Josie Duffy Rice, who is a criminal justice journalist. She, again, reiterates the seriousness of the symbolic lynching. And so that's why, again, it's blew up everywhere.
Yeah.
And so everybody was like putting out all these kind messages in support of him. And while he did acknowledge that it was all really sweet and he did feel really supported, but he said it was a lot for him to handle and he felt embarrassed and kind of emasculated. But we do find out though here that April had mentioned that like a week before the attack had happened, someone had sent Jussie a threatening letter saying, "You will die, Black F slur." And it was put together with like magazine letters. And then there was also a picture drawn on that of a stick figure with a noose around its neck and a gun pointed at it. So Jussie said that he had dealt with threatening letters before, so he didn't really pay any extra attention because he'd always just been like super outspoken about social justice issues. And he actually felt that Fox, the network hosting Empire, had handled the threat well. So then there was no reason for him to like focus on it or anything. But then, like once that came out, then Jussie's case had begun being described as a heater case. And Eddie Johnson mentions how it was like well known in the department, from the mayor putting on pressure from like the Cook County State's attorney, Kim Fox.
Case,
yeah, it was a very high profile case. So it was getting heated up very quickly.
Rightfully so.
So it was well known in the department that they needed to solve the case and solve it quickly because they were going to be heavily criticized if they don't.
Especially in Chicago.
Yeah.
Because they're a fucking mess.
Yeah.
Been that way for a long time, too. Anyways.
So immediately, officers go to the location of the attack, and they see that there's a camera on the street. But when they pull the footage, they find that it's pointing in the opposite direction of the attack. So now they're just continuing to pull for cameras in like the surrounding area. And within this, they identify two shaded figures in the area that somewhat match Jussie's description of his attackers. So then once they identify those or see those shaded figures, and then they're able to see them on several cameras after the attack, like running in the same direction that Jussie said that they did.
Yeah.
So through the police investigation, they find that these two individuals had jumped into a cab. They traveled to Roscoe Village on the north side of Chicago, where they then walked through a residential area. And while they were walking through the residential area, they were caught on several doorbell cameras until, they just lose sight of them further down the street, assuming no more doorbell cameras.
Yep.
So through backtracking, they found the investigators found the original driver that picked up the two individuals who had explained to the police that they had switched from a rideshare to a taxi mid-trip. And it was looking very suspicious because they were clearly trying to cover their tracks. So the detectives filed for a subpoena to get the records on who they were, in the rideshare and the taxi companies and whatnot. Yeah. So they file the subpoena and they wait. So meanwhile, back in LA, Jussie has a show at the Troubadour. And he had been advised by several people on his team to cancel the show, but he decided to go forward with it. And he went out and thanked everyone for their support. And it looks like it was a great show. He felt that everything would, be done with that. Like, he was like, okay, we had a good show. This is going to overshadow it. We're going to be able to move on. Done. No, because Eddie Johnson didn't feel like he could move on. He was the superintendent, the police superintendent. Yep. So Eddie had realized that there had been the polar vortex coming the night that Jussie was attacked. So he watched the video of Jussie returning to his condo again and noticed the subway bag, which coincidentally happened to be in pristine condition. And he thought it was odd that he had just been in a vicious attack and he still made sure to grab his bag of food. And he also makes a note about how Jussie was still calmly wearing the noose around his neck when the officer showed up. And then he says, quote, and then he calmly takes it from around his neck and kind of rolls it up like it's a prop, end quote. And he really he also makes a good point in saying that if a black person has a noose around their neck, that they're not going to keep it on or take it off calmly. They're going to treat it with disgust.
Or
but
fucking
Jussie
put
didn't
it back
do that.
on.
Yeah.
It's not a good look.
Yeah. And he also thought it was interesting how Jussie didn't want to give them his phone, which, I wouldn't want to give them my phone either. But anyway, they were getting suspicious of Jussie.
Yeah.
So, all right, here's where Rafer Weigel comes in. So he had reached out. He was a reporter and had reached out to the public information office of the police department looking for a quote. And they told him off the record that it was a bunch of bullshit. But the comment that they wanted to put out was that the Chicago PD is taking it seriously, but they're skeptical. So,
a pretty powerful statement.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So of course, he starts tweeting about it, and then more leaks start chiming in, and they're telling him what they want him to release, essentially. And so he tweets about how Jussie was supposedly on the phone with his manager, but he won't turn his phone over to the police. And he tweeted about the surveillance tape that showed him carrying his subway bag with the noose around his neck. Like I said, it's not looking good. People are starting to get real skeptical.
Do you remember in that security footage when he was walking back into was it a hotel or
the condo?
The condo. Mm-hmm. So he had the subway bag. Mm-hmm. Was the noose still around his neck?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was on him when he was walking in. And even April had said that he didn't want to turn his phone over to the police because he had other celebrities' personal numbers, and so that was the reason he gave, I guess. Okay. But then Jussie reveals that he actually didn't want to have his text messages combed through because he didn't want his drug use to be discovered and revealed to the public. And he makes a good point in saying that he wasn't necessarily doing anything suspicious by being at a 24-hour subway because, there was 4 other people there as well. There's a reason why it's a 24-hour subway. So him going out to get food doesn't necessarily mean that he was doing
anything
bad.
Especially after a long day of travel?
Yeah.
It's not too crazy.
Yeah, so I think he makes a good point. Yeah. But the public opinion is already turning against him.
There's a lot of other aspects that go into it other than just Subway, but yeah, I do agree.
Well, yeah, but he's saying they're asking why were you out at night? Why were you out at 2 o'clock in the morning? Why are you at Subway? Why? And he was like,
right.
Just
other
like that.
People were out.
Exactly. Yeah. I just got back from traveling. There wasn't any food. I needed to go eat. There's a reason why Subway's 24 hours.
That's true. That's a good point.
There's a lot that's
I agree.
That if nothing had happened, it wouldn't be suspicious.
Well, yeah, that's
yeah.
That alone isn't suspicious. It's
Yeah, I
everything
know,
else.
but that's what I'm saying is how they were like harping. He said that they kept questioning him about this
why you
stuff,
were
and he
out.
was like, "I do this shit all the time. Like this
Yeah.
isn't anything new.
Right.
It's just the fact that there now
Yeah.
was a crime."
Exactly.
So anyway, so Melissa Staples had stated in her interview that after a few days, they received the records from the rideshare that they had subpoenaed. And ironically enough, there was only one ride in the area at that time on that night. Only one.
Which
Just
is
one.
weird because it's Chicago.
Yes.
But okay.
So they were like, well, obviously this has to be the suspects. And they tracked the rider down, and his name was, I cannot remember how to pronounce the full name. His name was Ola Osundero, I think is how they said it.
Yeah, I think so.
I can't remember how to pronounce his full name, the full first name.
Yeah.
But he lived only a block away from where the detectives lost the suspect's trail. But however, he was a black Nigerian male, not the white male that Jussie had reported. And Ola's brother, Bola, also referred to as Abel, had a similar build, and they appeared to match the suspects on the surveillance cameras. But again, they were black men, not white men. So after more digging, it turns out that the two brothers were extras on the set of Empire. So now the detectives are like,
The same
fuck?
show.
Yeah,
in
they're
Chicago.
like, what are the odds? So sure enough, the night after the attack, turns out both men were on a plane to Nigeria. So now they just have to wait. So now it's 2 weeks after the attack. And at this point, people want interviews and answers, and they're reaching out to Jussie trying to schedule something. And he doesn't want to, but Fox's PR team encouraged him to. So he did that interview with Robin Roberts from Good Morning America.
Yeah.
And in his interview, he reiterates his story, the same story. And he talks about how he wants people to see, specifically other little gay boys, to see that he fought back against his attackers. So he goes and films that and everything. And then, of course, the night that it airs, the same night of the interview. So not the night that it airs, the same night of the interview, he's going and filming it. Ola and Bola are set to return from Nigeria. So the detectives plan to meet them at the plane, and they place them under arrest immediately. Of course, though, the brothers refuse to speak to the detectives, but by law, they're allowed to hold them for up to 48 hours. So they do. Yep. And they call Jussie in and show him the pictures of the brothers, and he's like, there's no way possible. There's no way that this could have been them. And he's like, one of the brothers, was his friend. And so there's no reason at all why there's no reason for me to believe that they're going to attack me. And he told them that he's not going to be signing anything, like any kind of complaint against the brothers or anything like that. And so eventually the brothers opted to seek legal counsel on their own. And then that's where they introduced Gloria Rodriguez, who was their attorney. So
This chick was weird.
Yeah. So, a little background on her. It turns out she had met their mother when their mother drove Uber. And then she gave their mother her number to call her if she ever needed an attorney, and said, like, same thing for your kids. And she said that Bola was very stone-faced, whereas Ola was just kind of down, but still answering her questions. And coincidentally, the night that the Robin Roberts interview aired, was, the morning after, the interview aired the morning after she had met with the brothers. So Gloria recorded the interview on her phone, took it to the jail, and was like, hey, this is what Jussie is saying.
Yeah.
And the thing is so unfortunately in the interview, he had said that he believed that those figures in the surveillance video were his attackers. But keep in mind that this was before he had gotten called to go back down to the police station where they told him about the Nigerian brothers.
Right.
So when he did that interview with Robin Roberts and said that he thought that those were the suspects, those were his attackers, he didn't even know that the Nigerian brothers were suspects. He didn't know that they had been arrested or anything like that, or what the plan was to arrest them. So now
he just saw two hooded figures. That's all he was identifying.
Yeah. So now that he said that in the interview, Gloria recorded it and took that to the brothers. They were ready to talk to the police. So in their interview, they both say that they didn't realize that like the story was going to get this big, that they had originally just been so happy to be friends with Jussie, this big star from Empire, the show that they were just extras on. So about 4 days before the attack, Bola said that he had gotten a text message from Jussie while he was at the gym. And he said eventually went to meet up with Jussie at the Empire set. And that's where Jussie told him about the threatening letter that he had received. And he felt that Fox Studio wasn't taking it seriously. And so he asked Bola to beat him up. And on top of that, Jussie asked Bola to get another person, his brother. So that's when they went to go pick up Ola and tell him the plan to beat up Jussie. Apparently, his plan was to have the brothers beat him up, and then they would take the surveillance footage from outside of his building and post it on social media to show his followers what had happened. And the brothers were like, oh, we thought that this was just something that people in Hollywood do. So they said that Jussie paid them $3,500 to beat him up, and they treated it like just another day on the job. And so now, with the brothers having made their statements, the detectives feel that they had enough to go after Jussie. And so he, at this point, is like getting his own representation, who is Tina Glandian. The firm that she worked for represented a lot of high-profile, notorious people, i.e. celebrities. So, at this point, like, the detectives are basically just putting out there that Jussie isn't cooperating with them at all. And Eddie Johnson said that he was getting sick of getting the runaround. And so he let Jussie's team know that if he didn't just turn him in, then they were going to have him apprehended. But Jussie's like, turn myself in where? Like, for what?
Yeah,
like, what the hell? But Eddie just jamming the fucking boot down on his neck. And he did a press conference announcing that Jussie was a liar, that he had staged the hate crime to further his own celebrity status. And then he even mentioned that Jussie sent himself the threatening letter in order to get Fox to see his value and increase his pay. And to top it all off, the surveillance video from inside a store that showed the two Nigerian brothers purchasing ski masks and a red hat. So there's, all of this being stacked up against him, and the public has completely turned on Jussie at this point. So, of course, there is a huge outrage on behalf of both the Black and queer communities because of how he used very real and common hate crimes that are committed as a tool to further his own agenda. So Josie Duffy Rice, however, she had stated that she was hesitant to join the public outcry against Jussie because of Chicago PD's past in dealing with Black and queer crimes. And then Jussie's attorney, Tina, points out that, why would he have two Nigerian men attack him when he knew it was going to be on camera and he was going to report that it was white men? So
I want to make a comment here because this didn't make sense to me.
Okay.
That is completely feasible. I'm not leaning left or right at this point. But if the concept holds true, because if it's a security camera from across the street that's catching this altercation, right, in the middle of the night, and they're wearing ski masks.
Yeah.
The concept stands true that you wouldn't be able to tell what their color was, because even later, and you'll get to it, you'll see somebody plain as day, bright color and everything on the video camera. No one can tell if he's fucking black or white, and he's not wearing anything.
That's
true.
So
you can't tell me that the concept doesn't hold true.
Yeah.
That he could pull that off.
Yeah, I mean, I get the argument on both sides.
Because they made it in the documentary, they made it seem like it was a crazy concept of because they pointed out the same thing. They were like, how are you going to try to do this? you're going to hire these 2 black guys to play these 2 white guys that beat you up and catch it on camera. That's feasible.
I mean, yeah, it makes sense if you're like solely relying on outside footage, but I mean,
it was the security camera from his. So I mean,
so in that case, that make. Yeah.
I just wanted to. That was one comment that I had from the documentary was that.
Yeah. Well, at this point, Jussie breaks down the lies and the twisted narrative that Eddie Johnson had put out to the public. And he says that he was never actually unhappy with his job, his pay, or his relationship with Fox Studios. And he reiterates the message that he had sent to his friend and personal trainer, Bola, asking for help on the low was actually for herbal steroids that could only be purchased in Nigeria. And he says that the check was written for those steroids, not for a plan to beat him up. So through legal negotiations, Jussie's lawyers made a deal with the state's attorney, Kim Fox, where he would have to forfeit his $10,000 bond and they would drop the charges against him, which were filing a false police report. Unfortunately, Jussie Smollett was still guilty in the eyes of the public and, of course, the eyes of the Chicago Police Department. And as a result, people were calling for the removal of Kim Fox because they felt that she had just fed into Jussie's celebrity status and let him off scot-free. And due to the backlash against Kim Fox, now there was a new special prosecutor brought in and new charges were brought against Jussie, with his trial set to begin in 2021.
Which is crazy because they just completed a deal.
Yeah, that's what I thought. But yep. So the trial. Jussie and his attorney felt like the whole court proceeding was a charade. And of course, both brothers testified that Jussie was lying and it was all a setup. One thing that I don't think had ever been reported before this was that there was a completely independent witness who said that they saw the same thing that Jussie had seen. This witness was Anthony Moore, who had been working as a security guard at Sheridan Grand in Chicago. And he remembered it so well because of the polar vortex, because it was so cold. And he recalled hearing footsteps coming up quickly when he stepped outside. And he said that all he saw was a man running at him in a ski mask with only the skin around his eyes showing. And he said that he like picked up his flashlight and it shined on the man and showed white skin on a Caucasian male. And then, we end up finding out that there was a second independent witness, Rebecca Bell, who was Jussie's neighbor. And she said that she had a corner penthouse with a balcony in the same building. And she said that at about 12:45 a.m., she had taken her dogs out to the bathroom and she saw a man standing there looking like he was waiting for someone. And she reports that it was a white man, mid-30s, and he looked to be wearing a beanie. And she noticed that sticking out of the back of his jacket was some rope. And of course, she focused on it a bit. She was a woman walking alone at night, trying to be aware of her surroundings. So obviously, she notices things like that. But then the next morning, she had heard about what happened to Jussie, and she realized that she may have seen the person who did it. And this is when, Jussie realized that people who didn't have any connection to him whatsoever were going to be able to testify on his behalf and support his side. But then, at the time of the trial, April had said that she had to pull away from Jussie because he was just starting to get really paranoid. And she never doubted his story, but just as they're getting closer to the trial and everything, his paranoia was just increasing a lot.
That was like, not to get too off topic, but that's like Tupac.
What do you mean?
Towards the end, he got fucking super paranoid.
Oh.
He thought everybody was out to fuck him. So I'm sure it's the same kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Who the fuck do I trust?
Exactly. He was like, this person, they're judging me or they think I'm lying, blah, blah, blah. Like, I probably wouldn't want to talk to anybody either. Yeah. So anyway, they go through with the trial, and following the court proceedings, jurors took 2 days to reach a verdict in the case against Jussie Smollett. And unfortunately, he had been found guilty on the first 5 charges against him, including lying about a hate crime because he's a gay black man, lying about battery because he was injured, and lying about aggravated battery because he had said that his attackers were wearing masks. And as a result, Jussie became a convicted felon. He was sentenced to 30 months felony probation, payment of restitution to the city of Chicago in the amount of $120,106, a $25,000 fine, and he had to spend the first 125 days of his sentence in the Cook County Jail beginning on that day of sentencing, which, like, I thought it was, when he was leaving, I thought it was kind of chilling that he felt the need to announce before leaving the courtroom that he wasn't suicidal. And I think that if this was a setup, him doing that may have saved his life. That's just my...
But he also could have, he is an actor. He could have also read that and been like, if I say this, to play devil's advocate. Again, I'm not leaning either way right now.
Yeah.
Just saying he could have done that to be like, to further the proof that this is a setup, I'm going to say this thing.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
could go either way. But you got a good point.
I think, yeah, it was still kind
We've
of
seen
chilling
that
that he
happen.
was like, I am not suicidal. And I was just like, oof.
We've seen that happen a couple
Yep.
times.
Yep.
So I get it.
Exactly. So that happened. Meanwhile, over in London, there is a documentary producer named Abigail Carr who had been watching, you know, kind of following the whole trial. And she said that throughout the whole proceeding that she couldn't help but ask, why? Who would make up their own hate crime? And that the backlash against him had been so severe that he became an international joke. And at the time, he didn't have any representation or anything, like an agent. So Abigail reached out to Jussie's brother and sister. And after talking with them, she opted to do more research beyond just like the headlines. And that's where she had discovered that there was no hard proof to link the Nigerian brothers to the crime other than the rideshare reports. And that's when she came across another journalist who was also working on researching this case. That journalist was investigative journalist Chelly Stanley. And she mentions that she's aware of how the Black community in Chicago feels about the police and how they've been mistreated for years. And so she started investigating it, and she managed to get the 500-page report on Jussie's case. And she started looking into all 38 detectives and supervisors that were listed within that report.
This part's fucking wild. Not surprising, but wild.
Not surprising at all. Chelly found that between those 38 detectives and supervisors, there were 563 misconduct allegations formally filed against them by citizens of Chicago. These charges ranged from criminal sexual misconduct to shooting people to selling drugs. And on top of that...
Chicago PD is nuts.
Yep. On top of that, they had been sued 16 times, with the city of Chicago paying out for all 16 times.
You know when you pay out?
When you're guilty.
When you're fucking guilty.
Yep. And after more digging, Chelly finds that one of the first responding officers had already had a misconduct complaint filed against him for homophobic hate speech against a Black man. So Chelly keeps reading through the whole report, and she's reading the witness statements, and she sees where the two independent witnesses backed up Jussie's account of the attack, as far as seeing the two white men near, or, you know, the two white men and then the other one white man near the scene of the crime. So immediately, Chelly is like, okay, how did the police treat you, witnesses? And why were you essentially ignored? Like, this wasn't really even reported or anything. And Anthony Moore, the security guard, he tells Chelly that when he got called down to the police, he had gotten called down to the police station. They showed him a lineup of only Black men. And of course, he tells the detective, like, he's like, I can't pick one of these because the guy that I saw was white.
Pick one anyways.
Yeah, they were like, oh, just pick the one that's closest to what you saw. And so he's like, I picked the lightest skinned Black man in the lineup, which he wasn't even light skinned. And, you know, he reiterates that he told the police that that was not the correct person, but they clearly didn't care. Like, they're just like, that's all we need.
That's not a good look.
So Chelly requested the video of Anthony seeing the men outside of the Sheraton Hotel. But when she's watching it, she realizes that there's a time lapse in the video from right before Anthony walks out of the hotel, and it jumps ahead 10 seconds to show someone just running past the window. Those cut out 10 seconds likely would have shown Anthony shining his light on this person, potentially allowing people to see that it was a white man running at him, potentially.
Yeah.
But when Chelly requested those missing 10 seconds, she never received them, which I thought was a huge red flag.
And she was requesting this from who again?
The police department.
Not a good look. It's not a good look.
So, well, the Chicago police have a history of hiding and or erasing evidence.
Yeah.
So she immediately believed that that's what's happened here. And she began filing Freedom of Information Act requests to try to get every piece of video she could possibly get of the suspects.
Mm-hmm.
And sure enough, many of the videos were blurry. Just look like silhouettes. The video's either corrupted or it's pixelated. But suddenly, one video shows up, a lit scene, and
This is what I was talking about. Yep.
You can see the full frontal face in color of this suspect who said appears to be a white man. And it's becoming abundantly clear that the police were not listening to the witnesses and they had possibly altered or gotten rid of evidence that would have proven Jussie's innocence. And the police department had been dealing with bad publicity following the shooting of a teenage boy. And so now suddenly with this case, they were like, oh, we're the heroes in this story against a celebrity. He made a false report and blah, blah, blah. But it was just seeming awfully convenient for the police to have gotten the confessions from the Osendero brothers against Jussie. And find out why. So Chelly says that she had discovered that when police had carried out the search warrant on the brothers' home, they had found several weapons and ammunitions. Chelly described it as a cache of dangerous guns. Here's where things with the brothers get a little bit more interesting. Ola is a convicted felon. In 2011, he had been involved in an attempted murder, which was pled down to aggravated battery. This means that Ola is not allowed to possess firearms, meaning that he would be facing the potential to return to prison, which gave the police department leverage.
A lot.
So now the question is, what was said in that interrogation room? Both of the brothers and the police department stated that there was no deal that had been made. However, Abigail had received interrogation room footage that she believed she wasn't actually meant to see. The footage shows a confidential conversation between Ola and his lawyer, Gloria, wherein Gloria is explaining the difference between having his criminal record expunged versus having it sealed. And she's explaining to him that if his record is sealed, then agents, movie directors, etc., can't see that he has a felony charge. And it looks obvious as hell that the brothers brokered a deal. It looks like they had to lie and say that they were at the scene of the crime and Ola's felony would basically disappear. So they were really happy in that interrogation room. And I said Bola looked like a conniving little snake from the fucking jump. Yeah, I went on a little... Ooh, I really went in on him. Damn. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was like, I clocked it immediately. I was like, his little smirk and the whole cowboy getup. I'll stop there.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I didn't like Bola.
Okay.
Don't like Bola. Anyway, so now Jussie is going through the shit with the legal system, and the brothers were out doing interviews about how they faked this hate crime with Jussie. Why isn't anybody asking why they weren't charged if they lied as well and went along with this? And I said, well, obviously because they flipped.
Yeah, probably made a deal.
Yeah. But like, I just thought that was interesting how like Jussie's being dragged through this whole court proceeding of all this stuff. And they're just out here being like, yeah, we staged this fake hate crime. We did this thing, blah, blah, blah. And like, I don't know. I don't have a good feeling about that. I don't know.
The ride share, though, puts them near the scene. Mm-hmm. We'll get to that.
Yeah. So anyway, and, you know, Chelly starts coming out with, like, what she's found in her research. And she's saying that, you know, like, what had been found in the brothers' home and the deal that she suspected that they made. And Eddie Johnson, Gloria, and the brothers all maintain that there was no deal made. And their argument is that Ola's record is neither sealed nor expunged. You can still see it. And Bola said that there was no need for an immunity deal because they were telling the truth. And Bola claims that he was conflicted, that he didn't want to flip on Jussie, but he felt he had no choice. And Eddie says that he was offended by how Chelly was trying to spin the story and say that the Chicago Police Department was the problem and that they had lied and hid evidence, etc. Which I thought was funny because Police Superintendent Eddie Johnson was later fired for misconduct only a few days before he was set to retire. There had been video evidence showing him sleeping in a parked police vehicle. He claimed that he had been having a medical episode, but surveillance footage showed that he had been drinking, quote, for a few hours prior to the incident. Anyway, Eddie claimed that the evidence was stacked against Jussie, but of course, Jussie has been maintaining his innocence. And then, back to that clip of the two men. I thought it was interesting to see everybody's response of who thought that they were black versus who thought that they were white.
You cannot tell me that you can definitively tell what color that person is in that crystal clear.
It's not even crystal clear. It's pixelated as hell.
It's the clear. Yes, you're 100% correct. It's the clearest that they provide.
Yeah, it's the light.
Yeah.
It's the lightest video that they have, but it's still very pixelated. And
you can't tell me that fucking first person that crossed the screen is white or black. You can't tell.
You really can't see.
But also, my other question is that, like, why is that so bright and the other ones are so dark? That's clearly during the day. How did you track these people?
That's what I'm saying. It didn't
you have
make
more, right?
much sense. A little bit.
Okay.
So then, fast forward to November 21st, 2024. On that day, the Illinois Supreme Court overturned Jussie Smollett's conviction, and they argued that he had made a deal by forfeiting his $10,000 bond, so they shouldn't have been able to re-prosecute him. And Dan K. Webb, the special prosecutor in Jussie's case, stated that the overturn does not clear Jussie Smollett's name. He is not innocent. But Jussie maintains
he's not guilty either, though.
Yeah. Jussie maintains his innocence, that he did not lie and fake the hate crime committed against him. After taking some time away, he's been working to regain his public image and work on his career. And these goddamn Nigerian brothers
rebuild his career.
Are now touting new theories about the case. And this is why I think they're lying, because Bola's saying that they're trying to move on and he wants to build his life back up. But it feels like they just want to keep basking in the glory of being involved with this scandal, because Ola then says that he believes Jussie was put up to it by someone in a political position, and then makes a point to announce that their theories will be in a book that they're releasing called Bigger Than Jussie, The Disturbing Need for a Modern Day Lynching. Shut all the fucking way up.
A title.
Shut up. That was the end of it.
Okay.
So what'd you think? Where do you stand?
That was the worst segue you've ever said.
I'm sorry. I mean.
Okay. Well,
what do you think? Do you think that he faked it?
So it's very hard to believe people in general, because I mean, look at not to go back to a previous episode, but Liver King, right, had millions of people convinced, right? That would have stayed. He would have stuck to those fucking guns if the email didn't come up, right? The only reason he had to be honest, was because of the evidence.
Clear proof, yes.
Right? Yes. It was in black and white. There was no questioning. It's hard in this one. That's why I was kind of laughing towards the end, is because everybody looks like a liar. It doesn't. The Chicago PD has a fucking horrible reputation. And then, what was it? The superintendent or whatever his fucking title is.
Johnson.
He got fired days before retirement because of, and this doesn't make sense because another thing too that they probably have under wraps is that's not enough to get you fired. Falling asleep in that squad car after hours of drinking or whatever, to get you fired days before retirement. No, that's not enough. It's not, because they would allow you to retire, because look at all these like super high profile people that are like, You know, even like
they just get put on administrative leave.
Exactly. They would allow you to retire. There had to be more there.
Probably. I'm sure there was more.
Right? Look at these like colonels and these people that aren't even really like, they don't really have that much power in the military, and they're even allowed to like do these fucking crazy things, and they're allowed to just like retire, right? Yeah. So there had to be more to the story there. There's just lies. There's just so many layers of lies that you don't know what's true. So that's where my mind is at right now, is that it's very hard to tell. There's a lot of red flags though, because like my main question too is like the brothers were put near, and I don't remember, there was a Uber and then there was a ride share. There was a break in the middle. I don't remember where that break was within the city of Chicago.
Oh, I don't remember on the map.
That's a major component to this, right? Because if it was very far away from the scene, then you truly don't know if they were even close.
Yeah.
Right? But if the ride share includes like the whole Uber thing and they actually work, because in the documentary, they trace those brothers all the way back to the scene of the crime. They follow them all the way. That's how they were able to get to that corner where they disappeared. And then they were able to link it to that apartment to one of the brothers. So one of the crazy things to this, I don't know if you can call it a case or whatever. This scenario, case, I guess, is that they were there. They were at the scene. So now this scenario that they're talking about where like it was all made up. I mean, there's a couple different theories, but one of the main theories is that the brothers weren't even there. And they were told to lie and all this stuff. They were from the jump. They were traced back. Why were they there? Right?
Yeah.
That's the main thing that's very confusing to me. I think you have to like pull away all the fucking layers to find the truth. I don't think we'll ever know, obviously, but I think for me personally, that is the ground level. That is the foundation of this story. Yeah. Is the brothers being there. Because if they were, the whole thing where they were, you know, theoretically they made a deal and they lied about being at the scene. The whole fucking documentary starts with them being at the scene.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's the foundation to me. I think that would need to be analyzed before you can even tell. But if I were to have to choose a side, I would have, unfortunately, I would have to go with the person that has the least red flags attached to them. The least lies, the least red flags, the least kind of stuff like that. And I think that would be Jussie. Right? Because he doesn't have a whole lot of negative stuff attached to him. Now, I will say, even there, though, there's a complexity of how do I word this correctly? You're a black person, city of Chicago, and you get attacked, and somebody puts a noose around your neck. For one, most likely they're going to use that noose.
Yeah, I'm not going to leave it on.
And two, if you survive the attack and you're not actually hung, you're not going to fucking walk back, grab your subway bag, walk back to your condo, up the stairs, and then when the cops arrive, you still... Now, I know there's a part of the story where he says he took it off, but that's why I asked at the beginning, when he walked into the fucking condo, was he still wearing the noose? Yeah. If you were to get attacked, I don't want to say brutally attacked, because it wasn't that brutal. I think he had like a little scratch right here.
I mean, I don't know.
He was definitely had
gotten hit.
Yeah, but it wasn't like a brutal, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, he walked back to the condo, and that's why I asked the question. He still had the noose around his neck.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, this is an outside perspective.
I don't think I would have left it on.
Not a black person in the city of Chicago. But if I were, I would not fucking wear it like a necklace and walk back to my condo.
I think...
And also, why didn't you call the fucking police right there?
Yeah.
Why didn't you want to call the police?
I understand not wanting to, being in the celebrity status of not wanting to, draw the attention, I guess, or I don't.
Okay, take that concept. Okay, I get it. I understand it. I semi-agree with it. But right, you don't want to call the police. You don't want any attention on this. Whatever. Right, your assistant,
creative director
calls the police. You don't want to make this a big thing, but you decide to put the fucking noose back on so you can show the cops this is what happened.
Yeah.
So as you peel back the layers, this is why I have a hard time picking a side, is because as you peel back the layers, everybody's a fucking liar.
Yeah. I mean, part of me was like, I wonder if he did it because he didn't think that they would believe him if he wasn't wearing the noose. But at the same time, again, like, I don't think I would be able to. I don't know. I guess I've never been in this situation.
No.
Obviously.
No.
But I'm thinking, like, as a black person, if somebody had put a noose around, I don't think I would be able to just like walk back home with it on.
No.
And after taking it off, I wouldn't.
No.
Like, be okay with putting it back on.
But to take it a step back, what you just said is, I forget verbatim what you said, but like the noose being on with the cops and like you understanding that whole concept, I don't, because this is an actor. This is an intelligent person. This is not a dumb person.
Yeah.
Right. So he knows damn well this is 2019. There's fucking cameras everywhere.
Yeah.
You know, there's a camera in front of the fucking place. There's a camera in the stairwell that saw you coming up wearing the noose. You didn't have to put the noose back on to prove your case, because you know damn well there are cameras fucking everywhere. Yeah. Again, you pull the layers back and everybody has their own red flags. And it's like, it's gotten to the point where like you need to find the person that has the least red flags. But even then, you don't know the truth. Yeah. You know, he has, to play both sides of it, he has a, what's the word? He can make this plan to play devil's advocate if he were to be the, I guess, culprit in this scenario. He could have pulled this off for 100%. If he were to be like the person that was the kind of the mastermind behind the whole thing and hired the brothers and whatever, it makes sense. It really does. But it all comes down to, okay, and this is something else I want to bring up about the brothers, you know? So the deal was made after all this happened, right? What you were saying is that there was probably a deal made and all this other stuff. Kind of like the butterfly effect. That's not where it starts. You have to go back because, again, they were already at the scene. So if the Chicago PD were part of this elaborate fucking scheme or whatever you want to call it, right? They're not only playing a very important part in that interrogation to get on the same page, they're also placing the brothers at the scene at the very beginning. That's not what happened. Why were the brothers there in the first place? And why were you on the same goddamn TV show? Yeah. It doesn't make sense, right? My point is that Jussie, a lot of things point to him setting this up because the brothers were in the vicinity. He was caught on camera, right? And I think it was in front of his hotel, his condo. Yeah. So it kind of makes sense. The 3,500 kind of makes sense. And another thing too is that if I were in his shoes and I needed to think of a way to like, how do I spin this, right? What's one of the only things that I can get from, what was it, Nigeria?
Oh, this herbal steroid.
He could have found that on fucking Google.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? There's a lot of things, but at the same time, and this is why I chuckled towards the end, is that like I have all these things going through my head, but then you look at it again, devil's advocate, look on the other side of it, is the Chicago PD is a fucking horrible reputation. Yeah. So like it's hard to tell, and then you put this shit on top of it where the fucking superintendent gets fired. You know, and he was like the lead person. It's like there's just so many. There's so many liars everywhere, and it's just hard to. But again, I think the least amount of, I guess, red flags would probably be with Jussie. But until you start to peel away the layers, you're like, well, wait a minute. Who in their right mind would fucking put the noose back on?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things. Like, I don't know. I'm definitely more inclined to believe him over the brothers.
I think you hope that that's the case, right?
I don't like the way they carry themselves. I don't know.
That's fair.
There's something about it that I can't quite put my finger on.
I don't like them either. And then
but there's something.
You had a great point about the book. The book coming out is just you capitalizing on the whole thing. Well,
they immediately went and were like going and getting on Fox News and in one of the clips were wearing a fucking MAGA hat and like they were fully like playing into this and like they were loving everything that they got out of this.
Yeah. Something I just thought of though is that a ulterior motive, is that? Like maybe not. There could have been another component to that. right? That again, in order for them to be like hired or recruited or whatever you want to call it from the get-go, it has to go all the way back. Somebody could have easily capitalized on the situation and used them to push the MAGA whole thing, right? So the fact that they were like pretty much boosting up publicity for the whole thing, and they were getting on interviews, and they were wearing the hat and all that, there could have been another, like a third party that came into it, like, hey, we can, like a PR stunt or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a very good
But my point,
possibility.
My point is though, is that could be a whole different scenario. That could be a whole different situation.
Yeah.
You know, why? It all comes back to the foundation. It all comes back to square one. Why was Jussie and the brothers in the same area at the same time if they weren't hired by Jussie?
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know.
Chicago's a big fucking city, and you're...
I don't know.
What, you're going to the same fucking subway middle of the night during a fucking polar vortex?
I don't
know. Fuck? So it doesn't... So that's what I mean. As you peel back the fucking layers, it's just like, well, this doesn't make sense, but also I don't fucking trust you. And then like what you had said, I don't like the way you carry yourself. Now you're just like, well, now you're hopeful it goes in this.
It's not even hopeful. It's just like there's something that just, it doesn't, something about them just...
Are you saying you don't feel that way about Jussie? There's not anything that points to...
I mean, yeah, but it's not as much as like...
Would you wear a noose as a necklace after you got jumped?
No.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, no.
Doesn't make sense.
I don't know. They just seemed like almost like too giddy about the after, I guess. I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. Like, it seems like he has not, like, he wasn't happy about this from the beginning, but like anytime that they talk about it, they were like more than happy to discuss, I guess. I don't know how to explain it. There's just something there.
Again,
obviously, I'm more inclined to believe Jussie than them, but you
got to think though,
sure.
as again, to play devil's advocate, right? I don't know fucking which way, but something that would explain that is you're talking about a main character that's probably getting millions per fucking episode, and you have this extra and this model that aren't part of the limelight, and now all of a sudden they are. It would explain why they are more giddy than the person that's used to being in the limelight.
I guess.
Again, I'm not defending these brothers. I don't like them. I think there's obviously something happened. One's a fucking felon, right? They got a bunch of guns and stuff at their house. So like there's a lot of red flags. But I'm saying that Jussie has his own red flags.
Oh yeah, he definitely does.
You know?
They all do. For sure.
I'm hopeful that he's telling the truth.
Yeah.
But again, it's for me, it all comes down to one very important component is why were all three of you in the same area?
I don't know.
And then, oh shit, to even take it a step further, is why were they at was it a convenience store or Ace Hardware or some shit? And they were on
they were buying the ski masks and all that stuff. Yeah, that sounded like...
Why?
Yeah.
And then that 10 seconds too. What is that 10? Okay, again... I think everybody is under the impression, and I don't know how we got here, but everybody's under the impression that these security cameras are going to give you crystal clear fucking images.
If anything, I don't necessarily think it would be a crystal clear image, but it would corroborate what Anthony had said about he stepped outside, saw the guy running at him, shine the flashlight on his face. So then they would, could see on there that he shined the light on him. He got a look at the guy, then maybe they would have taken the statement a little bit more seriously.
That's a good point.
Maybe that's why they didn't.
So it wouldn't be actually proving anything on the video footage. It would be, okay, you saw this guy.
Yeah, we see that you saw him.
Another thing I just thought of too is I would like to analyze this is that in the footage, right, there's a 10-second gap. Prior to the 10-second gap, it's the security guard walking to the door. Right? And nothing really happens. Fast forward 10 seconds, the door's open. The security guard took a right and walked. It seemed like he walked out the door because the door's open. It looked like he walked right. There's a guy coming from the left running.
I don't know.
No, that's what happened. That's what's in the footage, right? So my question is, how does that work? So like say that
he said that he heard footsteps coming up from him from behind.
But he shined the flashlight on the person. So if that's true, there must have been two people that were running. because he caught the first person.
Yeah.
Right? Because then the door's open.
Yeah.
In the fucking footage. Right? So that's another question I have is like, was there two people coming around the corner?
I don't know.
The 10 seconds is a huge component too. But I think that's, it seems pretty clear that Chicago PD doctors a lot of things or plucks a lot of things out.
All of those misconduct allegations.
563 is pretty significant between what,
like
39, 38 fucking people.
It's a lot.
Chicago PD is pretty big. 38 is not a lot of people. And to have 563 allegations against you, what, 16 lawsuits?
Yeah.
That's pretty significant numbers.
Yeah.
But again, every component has its red flags. I do like that private investigator. I don't remember her name. The private investigator that was kind of finding all the holes. I think she was the one that requested.
Stanley.
Yeah, the one that requested the footage and everything. And she requested the missing 10 seconds and stuff. I think she's like maybe one of the few people in the whole story that don't have any red flags.
Yeah, no,
she's like digging.
Yeah, I thought she did a really good job.
Yeah.
I mean, overall, I thought the whole thing was really well put together, the whole documentary.
Yeah, I think so.
I hadn't followed a whole lot of the story or anything. Like I had, seen like the headlines and stuff like that when it was happening, but I wasn't like following it at all.
So you think Jussie's telling the truth? Or Jussie is telling the truth?
I think he's the more truthful one out of the lot of them, honestly. Yeah.
That's fair. No.
I don't know how, but I just...
It's gotten to that point where you're like, I don't know who to trust anymore.
Just going off my gut at this point.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's just something about those brothers that just doesn't sit right with me.
I mean, yeah, that's true. They definitely they don't give off very good vibes. One's a felon. They're holding a bunch of guns.
It's not
and
even
ammo.
him being a felon. It's just the way, like, the look.
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, you can get vibes from people for sure.
Yeah. I don't have a good
I don't know. Jussie sticks to his guns pretty well. That's, even through all this stuff.
Yeah, his story hasn't changed or anything. It's been the exact same the whole time.
But
so
neither did Liver Kings. Until the
true,
the email came out.
That's true.
You just don't know.
I don't know. I mean, I thought it was still interesting to see like how the whole investigation played out and stuff.
Yeah.
And I mean, I had no idea that when he had been charged, it was after he had struck a deal. I didn't know that had happened.
Well, yeah, it's gonna happen behind the scenes.
Well, yeah, I know. But when it came out that like he was being charged, I didn't. Like I said, I hadn't followed it.
Yeah.
So I didn't realize that he had already like done so. I thought that was just the initial thing that had happened.
And that's why I pointed that out in the beginning. Because I wanted to be like, this is a very important part. But I didn't want to like ruin it. But like that is, from the very beginning, when they make that first deal. Yeah. It may seem like a small deal because it's only $10,000.
No, you made a deal though. Yeah. Like, yeah.
And they were even like,
a deal.
And the attorney was even like, well, I was kind of surprised by this because we just made a deal.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, how is that allowed?
That's what I said. I was like, I don't think you can do that. Like, that's like a double jeopardy kind of thing, I thought.
I mean, you're being charged twice.
Yeah. So and that's why
because
there's a whole new set of charges. And that's why the Supreme
Court in Illinois was like, no, you shouldn't have done any of this. And that's why he was. And then for that guy to come back and be like, and this is why I made the comment. Well, he made the comments after he was released or whatever. He was like, this doesn't mean that he is, I forget verbatim.
Oh, yeah. He's like, this doesn't mean he's innocent. This doesn't clear his name. And it's like, well.
It doesn't make him guilty either.
Yeah. It's better than making someone who's not guilty a felon.
I don't know why you made that statement because you can't prove either.
Because he's the one that prosecuted him and it got overturned. So probably butthurt about that being on his record now.
Oh, well.
I don't know, but I mean, either way, I thought it was a really good watch.
Yeah, you liked it?
And like I was pleasantly surprised, actually. I don't know what I was expecting, but I just, I don't know. It was really interesting.
It really was. I enjoyed this one. Yeah. It was pretty wild.
I liked it a lot. Do you have anything else you want to add about it?
No, I'm good.
No. Okay, so for next week on Rants on the Rocks, we're going to be diving into Netflix's Unknown Number, the high school catfish.
Oh.
It is a small town mystery that starts with a few creepy texts and spirals into one of the wildest cases of cyberbullying and deception we've seen yet.
Jesus. Okay. What state? It doesn't say? Okay. All right.
I tried not to do like too much digging because I, from what I understand, there's not like a surprise or something. There's something.
A twist.
Yeah, like some kind of twist, and I don't want to ruin it for myself.
That's fair.
So I tried to get like the most basic information I could on this, so I could do that.
Okay.
So
I'm looking forward to that one.
Yeah. So if any listeners are interested in joining the convo, head over to Netflix sometime this week and watch that documentary, and then come talk to us about it. And some quick final admin. We launched our website on August 1st. It is the rantingpodcast.com. And again, we've included the anonymous submission section, so you can send in your rants, raves, or suggestions if you don't want to post it in the Facebook group or Facebook page, whatever.
Yeah.
And I'll be reading them, and then we'll, get whatever we can included into upcoming episodes. So, as always, if you're enjoying listening to the podcast, please like, share, comment, subscribe. Aside from YouTube, you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Oh, and TikTok, all under the Ranting Podcast. And now you can even listen to us on Spotify as well. So find us everywhere and enjoy our silly content.
We're also on School.
Oh, yeah.
SKOOL,
I forgot about that.
/ the Ranting Podcast. And then you can kind of follow our path into building this whole thing.
Yeah,
so
that's
we got
brand new
meeting
too.
us, tips, lessons learned. And then all the episodes are available there too. So,
yeah. So come hang out.
Yeah.
Yeah. But most importantly, keep ranting.
There you go.
And come tell us about it. Okay, bye.
Bye.